Hey everybody, I have arrived. I am Big Will, and welcome to. Well, still haven't figured out the title, but we're just going to call it "What's the Title," and that'll be the title. And what we're going to be talking about today is Bronze Age of comics. And to do that, I have some people who collect the Bronze Age. I mean, I dabble in it, but there's people that do it a little more than me, and we're going to talk about the Bronze Age with. First up, Hialeah Comic Bro. What's going on, man?
Hey, what's going on, Big Will? Thanks for having me.
No problem. And not only that, we also have DS Comics.
What's up, guys?
What's up, DS?
Not much.
Hey. So welcome, fellas, and welcome everybody who's watching. Looks like we got Las Cruces 1971 and D there, Simply Incredible Podcast. What's going on? Hello to anyone else who comes in. So, fellas, I know some people, when you say Bronze Age, it means something different to someone else. Some people don't even think the Copper Age exists. And, I mean, you can get into a bit of a mess. So, let me tell you what I'm thinking as far as Bronze Age. So, here we go. Golden Age, 38 to 47. Atomic Age, 48 to 55. Silver Age is 56 to 69. Bronze Age, 70 to 80. Copper Age, 81 to 90. The Image Age, 91 to 2000. The Cinematic Age, 2001 to 2010. 52 Infinity Era,
Nice.
2011 to 2019, and the modern age is 2020 to now.
Wow.
That's how I break it down.
Yeah, I like it.
I like it too.
So when I say Bronze Age, what are you guys thinking? I think 70 to 80.
Well, I think 70. I don't do it by like the years. I think of like how the comics were or specific events. So on the upper end, I think of like 1984 is where I feel like the Copper Age really started. And really, for me, the defining moment is like Black Suit Spider-Man. I feel like a Black Suit Spider-Man is, after that, everything has a certain feel. And it like the Secret Wars, stuff like that sort of kicked off Copper. So I feel like early 80s is Bronze, and then clearly the 70s. Although I collect Bronze Age horror, and there's a lot of books that are like 68 and 69. So I wouldn't be opposed to calling 69 to 83 Bronze Age, because I feel like the end of the Silver Age, when you get to 69, I feel like those are Bronze Age books. I'll say 70 to 84.
Okay.
What about you, Hialeah?
I have a hard time with when it changed to those 15 centers. I kind of put all those 15 centers. It's hard sometimes, and for me, I push them towards the Silver Age. I just push them down,
Yeah.
And then I kind of agree with you. I tend to look at the Dark Knight Returns, the Frank Miller.
That's 84 too, isn't it? Or 86?
Yeah, it's right in that same ballpark. And for me, and the same thing with Secret Wars, right there is where it ends, and that starts the Copper Age.
Yeah, I feel like that's like, I just picked Black Suit Spider-Man, and that's 1984, I think May of 84, if I'm correct. But yeah, there's a lot of events and character changes and title changes, like right around 84, 85.
Right.
And I feel like that kicks off Copper. And I have Copper going all the way up until Spawn 1, which is like 92. And I feel like when Spawn came out, and I remember when I was collecting when I was younger and Spawn hit, there wasn't anything like that out. There wasn't. There was like these funky 90s X-Men things and these other holographed and all these funky things from the 90s, early 90s. But the Spawn had a different look. It had different paper. It had a different, the graphics inside it. The art was different, and it was a different company. And it was, I feel like that's like the Nirvana, Stone Temple Pilots, grunge overnight change in music. It's like Spawn and Image Comics. I feel like that is, so I like 84 to 92 is Copper for me.
Yeah, that's like the defining moment for me.
Yeah.
Spawn, all those Image guys starting Image. Yeah. That was it for me.
Well, you got books like Fantastic Four 112, I think is a 15 center. ASM 101 is a 15 center.
Yes.
I feel like they're bronze, but if you feel like they're silver, it's hard to argue with that. They have a silver feel too, but there's a more gray area, I feel like, from the end of silver to bronze than there is from like bronze to copper, I feel like.
Exactly.
Well, the reason I say 70 to 80 is 70 is when Green Lantern, Green Arrow started, when they had that first issue that I think it's 82, 86.
Mm-hmm.
I forget the exact issue number. And then I picture it ending in 80 because that's when the new Teen Titans happened, and that saved DC.
Yeah.
So they were able to do all the stuff you guys have been mentioning, like the Crisis, Dark Knight, Watchmen. So that's my thinking behind it. But it looks like we all three agree the 70s are quintessential Bronze Age.
Yeah.
One other thing for copper or 80s, with regard to Marvel Comics, I feel like in the early part of the 80s, 81, 82, 83, they were doing all these funky miniseries to try out titles, and that stopped. Like, they did a bunch of those in the early 80s, and that sort of defined what Marvel was doing. They did the Wolverine Limited, the Punisher Limited. They did a whole bunch of those early. And, I feel like once we hit like 84, 85, it was much more stable for Marvel Comics. Like, the titles were rock solid and just kept going.
Yeah, they had all the Vision and Scarlet Witch. That was another one of those little mini-series that they started.
But this topic is on the Bronze Age. So when I say Bronze Age, we figured out what time period you guys are thinking, but what is the quintessential Bronze Age? What do you immediately think of? For me, it's Giant Size X-Men #1.
That's a good one.
That's mine as well. That's the one for me.
If it wasn't that, I might say 181, Hulk 181, but I'm going to go with GSX one as my Bronze Age book. What about you, DS?
I think of ASM 121 and 122. Those to me are Bronze Age books. Obviously, they're into the 70s. I think 73 or something.
Yeah.
It's a story arc that has a level of darkness that wasn't, a level of grittiness that wasn't present in Silver Age. Silver Age was markedly different, and I feel like the turning point for me is ASM 121, 122. I mean, there's 2 deaths in those, and it's a sort of darker, grittier storyline, and for me, that defines the beginning of the Bronze. And I always think of that for Bronze Age.
That's my Bronze Age starter too. Even though I think it's a couple of years in, I automatically go to 121, the yellow cover. Like everybody mentions the Green Arrow one. My mind automatically goes to 121, Spider-Man 121.
Yeah, Green Lantern 76.
Yeah,
I think the Neil Adams cover. Yeah, and I think Bronze Age started a few years before that. But when I think of Bronze Age, I think of ASM 121 and 122.
My mind goes there as well, DS.
But yeah, Giant Size, that's quintessential Bronze Age.
Yeah. So I guess we got to fill like a whole hour on this thing. So
okay, we're done. Thank you. There you go. There's the definition.
When I was asking you about Bronze Age, you said, "Yeah, man, I like that."
I love Bronze Age, man.
You were born in the Bronze Age, right?
I was actually born in the Silver Age.
Close enough. So that means you really remember the late Bronze.
I remember. Yeah, I started the first comic I got. I think was like in '74. I was born in '69, and I remember it's Spider-Man 135. I believe it's the second appearance of Punisher, the one with the spider web cover. That's probably one of the earliest comics I remember. I remember buying it off the spinner rack at the 7-Eleven, and that book is long gone though. That book,
and then DS. The reason I thought of you is you're always talking about pre-code horror and Bronze Age horror.
Yeah, well, and that goes along with what I was saying about the gritty sort of nature. I like horror. I like dark, creepy stuff. And Golden Age has that in spades. And then the Silver Age is dominated by superheroes, which, don't get me wrong, I like them, but it's not one of my favorite passionate thing. And then it really wasn't until the 70s, and particularly the early 70s, I really loved the Bronze horror. But really only the DC bronze horror for me. That stuff is so dark and it's so creepy and it's so cool. It makes my list. Now the Marvel horror from the bronze, there was an explosion of horror and creepiness and darkness and grittiness in the Bronze Age that wasn't there in the Silver Age. And both DC and Marvel did their horror stuff. But the DC horror was more serious.
Yeah.
And it was mainly for the artists they had, Bernie Wrightson, Neil Adams, Louis Dominguez, Nick Cardy, guys like that. Spalding, I think, or Sparling, Jack Sparling is another good one. But then Marvel was also doing horror stuff, but theirs had more of a superhero sort of feel to it. And it was later. I mean, they had like
maybe a little
Dracula type stuff. It's superhero related. They didn't want to go fully away from it. So.
Like, how many characters can you name for DC that are really popular now that came out of their horror stuff? Because I know you could do that for Marvel. All you got to do is go down the line.
Right.
Satana, Ghost Rider, Blade, Van Helsing, Dracula himself,
Frankenstein.
You could go off naming stuff from Bronze Age Marvel horror that is popular now because it's superheroized, I guess. Mm-hmm. Can you do the same for DC? I don't think so.
Well, no. I mean, the DC Bronze horror books are like horror anthologies. And sometimes there's like a narrator or a recurring character, or some of the titles like Phantom Stranger. But that's not even a new character. Do you know what I mean? So there's other than like a Swamp Thing.
Yeah.
That's it. And really the Swamp Thing, I mean, it started out in House of Secrets 92, and then they made a title out of it because it was such a popular one, and they gave it a shot, and it worked, and it became a recurring character. But outside of Swamp Thing, I can't really think of any. Phantom Stranger's pretty big, but pre-existed. That's a Golden Age title. So no, I mean, that's what I'm saying though. The bronze horror stuff for DC was more anthology, and it was sort of one-off stories a lot of times. And I feel like, look, there is good artists for Marvel, but it didn't have that grittiness that a Wrightson or a Neil Adams had a lot of time.
Yeah. Definitely.
So what do you guys, when you go hunting for books and you see a bronze, what do you look for in particular? Like, what really strikes your fancy? Is it, as long as it's horror, is that what you're about, DS? And what about you? When you come across the
bronze books all the time, I just sell the ones that aren't horror. I'll tell you, I buy a lot of Marvel bronze, and if you really want to have good Marvel bronze books, find well-centered and well-wrapped ones, because for some reason that decade is very difficult for Marvel to get their shit straight, and everything is wrapped wrong, and the staples are offset, and there's all these over wraps with the white border on the spine, and the stuff's all jacked up, and they have a bunch of these borders on the top, and then the lettering all the way on the bottom, and it's got to be perfectly centered, or some of that gets cut off on the top or bottom. So really tough. So when I look for Marvel, I really like when I can find a nicely centered, nicely wrapped one. And for DC, they have the circles, they have the 20-cent circles and the 25 or 30-cent circles. I like to find the circles intact up top, and that's kind of tough. So there's little challenges and little games I play when I try to find these books, and it makes it kind of difficult. But the other thing about bronze books is they are a blast to clean and press. All of them. It's so much fun. It's like everything comes out perfect. It's almost impossible not to get perfect results on a bronze book. It's crazy.
Yeah, I concur with you. Centering, centering is so important to me, unless it's a great freaking price and I could look past it,
Yeah, I mean, it's not an ultimate requirement.
Yeah.
But it's always nice when you find one and you get it, and the circles, like a Batman 251 or something, the circles are perfect, or a Swamp Thing 1 that's got a nice wrap. Forget about it. You're never going to find one of those, man.
For me, it's that those Swamp Things 1 through 10, the Bernie Wrightson ones with circles. That's what I look for. It just that drives me nuts. I'll stop looking. The wrap, as you know, the white border, that doesn't bother me too much unless it's really, really thick. But As far as the centering, where you can see the top line of the marble going down.
Yeah.
That drives me nuts. That drives me nuts. But just looking for nice, solid copies at a good price, man. And it's hard. It's getting harder and harder on those Bronze Age.
So you guys both mentioned centering and making sure the wrap is perfect on there. So that brings up Marvel frame books.
Yeah.
For the people that don't know, Hialeah, why don't you tell the people what those are?
That's
Yeah, Submariner is what always comes to my mind. Submariner or Warlock. Those are the two names that always come to my mind.
Tomb of Dracula 1 comes to mind.
Okay, yeah. Oh, there's a good one too, yeah.
Yeah, Luke Cage. Yeah, you're muted, Hialeah.
Sorry about that. I don't know how that happened.
That's all right.
That's basically the frame. Marvel did this. I believe it was to like 76. I might be wrong.
71 and part of 72.
That was it?
That was it.
Wow, it seemed like it was longer. There was a lot
There's less than 400 of them if you ever want to collect them all.
Oh, I thought there were more than that too. That's interesting, yeah.
I am surprised. I thought it went for more years than that. But
no.
This is what they did. There was the frame. They had the picture here with the trade dress. And I actually love these books.
Yeah, they're cool.
They're super cool. It's a moment in time for me.
I always think of the Submariner run, which nobody seems to collect, but it's super cool. Outside of Submariner 1 and what's the one with the what is it, Tiger Shark or something?
Number 5. Yeah, Tiger Shark is 5.
Yeah, after that, but when later on in that run, like 30s, 40s, and into the 50s, I never see anybody collect them or buy them or show them off or anything. They're really cool. They have great art, and the latter half of that run, it's all those picture frame ones. And the other thing that comes to mind for these is Warlock stuff, either the Power of Warlock or
frame book. Yeah,
those are always the Starlin art. That's always really, really good on those.
Yeah. For those of you that don't know, it's 1971 they started that, and also went into 72, and that was Stan Lee wanting everything to have a nice uniform look. And there's less than 400 of them if you ever want to collect them. And DC, about 5 or 6 years earlier, tried the same sort of thing, but for different reasons with the go-go checks. Mm-hmm. That happened in 1966 and went into 67 a little bit. But yeah, the Marvel frame books. When someone mentions Bronze Age, I'm thinking of the Marvel frames, and Tomb of Dracula 1 is the main book that I see.
Yeah, I've got a copy here somewhere.
You know what? I think I got one later.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a cool one. I've had several copies of this, and it's not something I ever keep. But man, I do like this book a lot.
And that's Neil Adams cover too, so that doesn't hurt.
Yeah, Neil Adams cover. I also like Tomb of Dracula 10. I like Blade. I like the story, and the art in there is really good. But it's and I've had a couple copies of that. I don't usually keep the Marvel stuff though.
Yeah.
I keep the DC stuff. But yeah, this is a cool book. This
is why I said 76, because to me this is 76, and it sure looks like a picture frame. It's just. Yeah. Doesn't have it on the bottom.
Yeah, it's not a frame book as in a Marvel frame, but it is framed.
Yeah.
Like it's a picture.
Yeah, exactly. That's why my mind went to 76.
Yeah, but that's still a good book, and that's still quintessential Bronze Age. Yeah. Still 25 cents.
Still 25 cents.
Yeah. But so what is the latest Bronze Age book you have purchased, if you remember?
Latest?
Yeah. How long ago was your last Bronze Age?
Oh, okay. I'm actually finishing up a sale on one that I was really after, and I'm gonna go finish paying it off and pick it up on Friday. I'm actually going to get my Tomb of Dracula number 10, which I've been after for a while.
Nice.
It's funny you mentioned that, but I finally was able to come across one, and I'm Friday can't get here fast enough.
Yeah. Now,
yeah, I think I bought a DC Bronze Horror not too long ago. I can't even remember which one it was though. But yeah, the DC Bronze Horror, I usually go for like, I mean, it goes to like 69 to 73 is sort of the wheelhouse of the stuff I like. And I look for that range, and I like to get 9.0 or better. And I usually buy raws and send them in. And if it hits 9.0, I keep it. And if it doesn't, I sell it. And I also try to look at auctions like Comic Link and eBay and places like that. And if there's a slabbed one that's in nice shape, I'll bid on it. They're becoming pricier, but I've picked up quite a few over the last like 18 months or so. So those are usually the bronze ones I buy. Other than that, I mean, I buy stuff to flip. I love buying bronze stuff to flip. I've had pretty much all of the bronze keys at some point.
The latest
32, a Hulk 181, ASM 129, Tomb of Dracula 10. I got a House of Secrets 92. Yeah, so I don't know. I like picking those. I like picking bronze books up, but I usually only keep the hard ones.
Yeah. As for me, the latest thing that I got that would be bronze was I bought from Jeff Silversmith, actually. Or actually, I didn't buy it. I traded for some Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man. That was 77 when that came out. But, oh, wait, we have a question about the discussion. Have you guys discussed the time or specific bookmarks into the silver stuff? Yes, we did. We each have pretty much a different opinion. Of course, whenever someone argues about the end or the beginning of the Bronze Age, first I have to ask them, do you consider the Copper Age as a thing? And if they do, I'm like, okay, well, when did that end? And they never have a good answer for that one. I think we need to have our modern era shrunk down. You notice how I chopped it up a little bit. I'm pretty sure we don't need a 30-year long modern era.
Yeah, and I'm not familiar enough with the books and the storylines after like the mid 90s. So I know I would start an era with Spawn and Spawn 1 and Image. I know Spawn's not the first Image title, but that's the
defining one. It's the defining
one. Yeah, it's the defining one. But the start of Image and Spawn 1 is the beginning. But then when I look at comic books now, they bear little resemblance to that. So somewhere in there, the Spawn era ended, and I don't know where it is because I got out of comics. And by the time I came back, 25 years had gone by, and people are still calling it the modern era. And I'm like, it's just nothing has changed. And of course, everything's changed. So I don't really know.
Well, the way I broke it down, I had the Image Age beginning in 91. That's when Image was founded, and they took over. Mm-hmm. And then I had it ending in 2000 and 2001 starting a new age because that's when the first Spider-Man movie came out. And then that changed a whole bunch of stuff.
Okay.
In the whole industry. And then, of course, I had that end in 2010 because 2011 was the new 52. And that started something. And it's also the age of the Infinity Saga when the Marvel movies really got going as well. And that's why I had it end in 2019 and 2020 to start one because pandemic.
Yeah.
So I figured that would be a good starting point, and it's been plenty of time.
Yeah. There's another phenomenon that I think would be reasonable to use to determine an era. I don't know when it started, but the era of variants. I don't know when this variant craze started. But I mean, at some point, they started doing variants on like multiple variants on every book all the time and doing second and third printings all the time. At some point, that became a thing that really took over. And I don't know when that was, but that certainly has changed things up because along with that, you have all these Comic-Con exclusives and all these store exclusives and all these different variants for like the same book. And I don't know when that started, but it certainly became a thing at some point and it became rampant and is all over the place. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's just a ton of cool different basically covers and printings for these things. I just don't know when that started.
But again, this is on the Bronze Age. So let me bring it back to it. What do you think of Jack Kirby in the Bronze Age? Because we have him in DC, then we have him going back to Marvel, and then after the Bronze Age, he kind of stopped for the most part. I mean, he still did stuff, but there's nothing that we can think of from like 92 that was, oh, that's Jack Kirby.
I think the Kirby Bronze stuff is really cool. He did all those titles for DC, and all those number ones are very collectible. Mm-hmm. His style, it's different than his Silver Age work. It's a little lighter to me. It's not as like, I don't say serious. It's still serious, but it's almost a more larger than life and epic than even some of his Silver Age stuff. I don't know, just the perspectives and the sizes and the dimensions of the stuff in his Bronze Age stuff. It just pops.
The world building that he did, Commandy, all that kind of stuff, the world building. And he was writing a lot of his own stuff, wasn't he? At that time?
The Fourth World, that's a Kirby creation.
Yeah, so that kind of took it. I think that's the biggest difference of everything. He was in total control. He didn't have someone else writing it, and he just let his mind go, man. And
I mean, like if you read Demon, he did that Demon title. Mm-hmm. I know, admittedly, I've only ever had Demon 1, but so cool. The art just pops off the page. There's epic pages in there and spreads, and just really cool stuff. I think the New Gods is Kirby.
It is.
Yeah, that stuff is. I'm reading the trade of that now. That it's epically good, but it's like it jumps off the page a little different. It's not more or less, but differently than his Silver Age stuff. Yeah. I feel like his Silver Age stuff was, I don't know, a little more intricate or something. It doesn't jump out at you as much as his Bronze stuff. So yeah, I think he really, when he went to DC in the Bronze Age, he sort of just let it go a little bit because he was doing a lot of the stories, making the art. And he sort of just was a little more wild with it, I feel like. I don't know, it's really cool. I like it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, Hialeah, what do you think about his switch back to Marvel, still in the Bronze Age?
I don't think it's as good as the stuff that he did in the DC. I know there's the Eternals, and it's good, but it's not where he did his best Bronze Age with DC. With like you said, Demon, I believe Mr. Miracle,
Miracle, that's another good one, real cool.
Well, I know of Bronze Age Marvel Kirby, but what I think of is what you guys mentioned, the DC. But he did the Eternals, he did Machine Man, I believe he did Moon Boy, or not Moon Boy, but Devil Dinosaur.
Devil Dinosaur, he did.
He did a lot of those. None of them as popular as the main.
But Machine Man's cool.
Yeah.
Say again.
I really like Machine Man. I know the guys who do that show, Kenny and Roger, and those guys do the.
Oh my God, what's it called?
Power Hour? Or?
No, the one on Thursdays that they do at.
Yeah, what's the name?
Greater's Notes.
Greater's Notes.
Yeah, they did Machine Man. I think they pretty much all ripped into it. How bad it was. It's like a 70s action sitcom type thing, like a Magnum PI or whatever. It's like a $6 Million Man or something. And that book is just so fun. Yeah, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense in places, but it's just fun. And that's sort of like Kirby just letting it go. You know what I mean? I don't know. I thought of that stuff's cool. I like Eternals is all right. I like the Eternals. I think the DC stuff's a little better, but New Gods is good. Demon is really good.
Yeah, I would say Eternals is his best Marvel. I would say.
I would probably agree with you. I think his Eternals at Marvel is him trying to recapture the fire of the Fourth World, because if you notice, Eternals is before anything happened, and it's given birth to the Celestials, all the things that made the Marvel Universe in story. I think he was trying to recapture the Fourth World magic.
Yeah. Mr. Miracle, I wanted to say that. I like Mr. Miracle a lot. It's sort of like the DC version of Mysterio. which I thought was really cool. Yeah, and that's a really good story. I like the art. And yeah, Mr. Miracle's underrated. Another thing about all these, they're really tough to find in good shape if you're trying to collect them too. Because I usually buy copies of these here and there, and I read them, and I send them in. And man, I never get anything like an 8.0, 8.5 on these things ever. It's always 6s, 6.5, 7. If I get a 7.5, I'm ecstatic. Like you cannot get anything like VF Plus or anything on these books. I don't know. So they're well read.
Well, but think about it. When I was growing up, nobody collected those. Eternals was just a throwaway title. Nobody paid attention to Eternals. They just weren't taken care of. They weren't seen as the top titles at that time. I never looked at those when I was a kid. I didn't. It was all X-Men, Avengers, Thor, Iron Man. Those were the hot titles. Eternals was just almost like a throwaway.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, they had a lot of stuff like in the second half of the 70s that I feel like were ignored forever. Nobody ever, and they've been in dollar bins for decades. Nova's another one. Nobody ever read Nova.
No.
I mean,
Nova, the Spider-Woman.
Spider-Woman.
Nobody looked at that.
Champions. I feel like nobody's even reading Champions.
The Moon Knight series that's so hot now. The Bill Sienkiewicz one. No, those were all dollar books. You could 50 cent. They weren't even dollar books. Nobody paid attention to those books.
Yeah.
And now they're going for big money. And rightfully so. They're all great series. The covers are crazy good, but they were always ignored.
Champions 1 is my birthday book.
Nice.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm not as old as you people. My birthday book's V for Vendetta.
V for Vendetta, I know.
That's a good one, though, man. Yeah, nice. That Champions 1, though, there's not many books I sell that I regret. There are some that I'm like, man, maybe I should have held it a little longer.
Right.
But I had a Champions 1 in a 9.6 that I cracked out and sent it in and got a 9.8.
I remember when you did that.
Yeah, and I sold it to Matt, Boy Who Had 7.
Yeah.
So it's got a good home.
Yeah.
But man, I almost wish I would have held it longer just to enjoy it more, because that's like a 9.8 on that. It's just such a cool book. It's not even worth all that much. Like nobody cares about 9.8 Champions 1. It's like $4 book. Man, I mean, that's cool to have like a 9.8 white pager.
How about that as a birthday book?
That's a birthday book.
Yeah.
Oh, that's expensive.
Yeah, I thought that was cool. So,
that's a nice.
Yeah, 181. That's awesome.
Yeah. Now I know JB. He loves the Marvel frames because that's how he knows. Hey, that's probably a birthday book. He's like, I think November, October, somewhere in there, 71. So all he has to do is look for the frames, and he can find himself some books.
Cool. Makes it easier.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to touch on what you consider the start of the end of the Bronze Age, and it's a good place for it. The Teen Titans, the new Teen Titans, that started that run. That's a good spot too, man.
Yeah, well, I mean, I didn't think I was wrong.
No, there is no wrong or right. There is no wrong or right. But I had never thought about it until you said it. I go, that's a good spot too. But I still like my Dark Knight Returns. But
but I just, the reason I don't like putting the Dark Knight, Watchmen, Crisis in the Bronze Age is because that seems to be like an explosive start of, hey, things are changing now. So that's why I like it to be 80, because something big happened. DC was saved. And because of that, we have Watchmen, Dark Knight Returns, Crisis, all of that happening in the 80s. And then there's the aftermath. And then these Image guys come and wreck everything for the big two.
Yeah.
So that's why I have it ending in 91.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I really like the 84 to like 88 era of Marvel. Such cool. Or even DC, just the comics in general from like 84 to 88. So much awesome stuff packed into like 5 years. For Marvel with the Spider-Man and all the story arcs. The Secret Wars was epic. And then the Dark Knight series, I think, was 86 with Frank Miller, which I don't know. I like Frank Miller. I feel like a lot of people are not big fans of him, but it's his style. He's minimalist.
I think it's
a lot. It's very noir, and
I love it.
I think it's his style, the way he does now. When he
maybe
does stuff now. I think it's people like him back then. It's just now it's kind of,
I don't know. That Wolverine limited series written by Claremont, and the art is by Frank Miller.
Yeah, that's great.
Fantastic. And, I'm always looking at the market. So
But
the value of those
Superman
books in the last 5 or 6 years hardly moves at all. It's like, I don't know why people are they're not more collectible. That's such
for me and Frank Miller, it's Daredevil. And
that's great.
And I remember when 158 used to be such a big book the first time he started on that title.
Yeah.
And that book, people never even mention it. They don't talk about it. And that run is epic, the one he had on Daredevil. That's when I fell in love with it.
Yeah, what is it? 158 to
196, somewhere around there. 194, 195.
I think it might be in the 80s because I know who was it? Klaus Janson picked up the art.
Yes, he did. He did a few
returns. He did that, I believe.
Yeah, maybe the late 180s or something is when it ends. But yeah, that's a pretty epic run.
But you read like the Superman Year One that came out in the last 4 years. No. The Miller's cover's kind of His writing is kind of but it's not too bad. And then of course, Romita Jr. He's kind of just done his stuff, and now he's just getting by.
Yeah, he's done. He's wow. For me, I think the last great thing, and I could be leaving something out, is but when Frank Miller when he finished the Sin Cities, that whole stuff, that was great. I got super big into that. And after that, I don't know if I've ever read any more Frank Miller. I might be wrong, but I can't remember.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I know of Frank Miller is like the 70s and early 80s.
Yeah.
I know he still does stuff and he's done recent stuff, but I haven't followed any of that stuff.
Me neither.
The Daredevil was good. I agree with Jimmy that the Wolverine Limited is the best art he ever did. Just the panel layouts and the sharp lines and the shadowing and the action and just the sort of perspective and the angles. It matches, especially the action scenes in there. It matches the characters that are in that action. The Silver Samurai and the Wolverine, everything with blades and cutting and slicing, and the Japanese storyline in that. It's so perfect for Frank Miller. I love that stuff.
Yeah. Well, I think we've just about talked the Bronze Age out. We've hit almost 40 minutes, and that there's no set time for these things, but I think that's a good, robust discussion. Is there anything you guys think that we're leaving out for the talk on the Bronze Age, that if you're talking bronze, you got to mention X, Y, or Z?
For me, it's the explosion of characters, first appearances in the 70s, characters that still resonate till today, and they're being all picked up now in the MCU, or there's word that they might get picked up. And it all started in the 70s, man.
Yeah.
Well, not all, but when you look at like that middle portion of the mid 70s, there's just so many new characters that exploded. And I gotta say, everybody's now on that early 90s nostalgia. For me, I love the 70s. It's my nostalgia, and they're my favorite books.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing about the characters. I went once to research first appearances in the Bronze Age, and I started with Avengers title. And I just never got any further. And I'll tell you, I looked at some other titles too, but I was like, man, I can't make this list. It's just going to be too big and it's going to take too much time. Just in Avengers alone, there's so many first appearances of characters. One of my favorite first appearances is Silver Samurai in Daredevil 111, I think.
Right.
But yeah, so many first appearances of characters that if you want to pick up some cheap books that are really cool, and have some possible spec or upside value to them, you can pick up tons of first appearances of all these weird characters.
Yeah.
Paladin is another one. I think that's early Bronze.
Yeah, Moondragon.
Yeah, there's just so many characters in the Bronze Age that are nobody even knows really, and they're cool books, and just pick a random title, go on my comic shop, and just scroll through until they tell you a little summary. First appearance of somebody, write that one down.
I do that too, DS. I do that too. I pick a title on my comic shop and I just start going down and see.
Yeah, you find all kinds of cool stuff that you didn't, you may have heard of the character. Graviton is another one. He's a really cool character, and he's had a lot of appearances and a lot of fights, and he's pretty powerful, and nobody knows who he is. And that's like Avengers. God, I don't even remember 180 something maybe. I can't remember Graviton, but I had like a 9.2 of that book too.
Of course you did.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of cool stuff in the Bronze Age that people.
There is. Yeah. Like when you think about now, every week it seems like, oh, there's a new appearance, the first appearance now. But it was the same thing in the 70s. In the 70s, there was new appearances, first appearances. I remember back then, Origin issues were a big thing.
Yeah.
Oh, Origin, and those used to go up in price. That doesn't happen too much anymore. But
well, look, in the Silver Age, it's the sort of the knowledge of the Silver Age is for the most part exhausted. Everybody already knows everything that came out and all the books and all the titles in Silver. There's very little that you're going to come across Silver Age you're going to find something new that people don't know about.
Right.
Knowledge is out there. The Bronze Age, you can go out and find all kinds of stuff that nobody is talking about or knows about, and you can still dig up and find new stuff in the Bronze Age. There's tons of it. It's like the Silver Age, it's pretty well known by the community, but the Bronze Age, there's a ton of unknown stuff, and you can dig around and find all kinds of cool stuff that nobody's talking about, that nobody knows, and you can get them really cheap, and you can get nice high-grade cheap stuff, cool first appearances and origins and storylines that nobody even knows about. So you can really find a lot of new stuff in the Bronze Age, where in the Silver Age, I feel like everybody already knows everything that's happened in the Silver Age.
And you know what titles that are getting pop is those those 70s horror books. Those were nothing. Those were throwaway books as well, both on both sides, DC and Marvel. And now those are picking up. They've been picking up steam for the last few years.
Well, Marvel has really good artists. It's just the way they do their horror is not my cup of tea, but it's equally good. It's just not my personal preference for it. But some of the Plug art is some of the best art in the Bronze Age for horror, and it's almost all Marvel. Romita did some really cool stuff, horror stuff in the 70s for Marvel too. But they didn't have rights in. They had Neil Adams, but they didn't. They had a little bit of rights, and he did a few things. He did a later Tomb of Dracula issue. He actually did a cover for Hulk title in the Bronze Age. That's really cool. I can't remember the number 173 or something. So yeah, it's really, really cool stuff. The prices are starting to go up, especially on DC horror in the Bronze. I've been collecting that for a couple of years, and I used to be able to pick that stuff up, $50-$60, high grade stuff. Now some of them are crossing into $400-$500 for high grade stuff. It's really moving. So you can still find deals on it, but it's gaining more attention.
House of Secrets 92 is crazy.
Yeah, that book has crossover because number one, it is a superhero key. Number two, it is a horror key. And number three, it's a Bernie Wrightson key. So you've got Wrightson fans, horror fans, superhero fans, Bronze fans, all converging on that book to make it one of the most collectible Bronze Age books. And then like everything else for DC in the Bronze Age, high grades are so hard to find. Like I have an 8.0 and I feel fortunate to have an 8.0. Wow. Would I like to upgrade? Sure, maybe. But I mean, you got to lay out serious money for a 9.0 and then you still got to find one. Yeah. They're not like they're all over the place.
I believe it is now officially the most valuable Bronze Age. I believe it had a $50,000 sale.
Which one?
House of Secrets 92.
Yeah, that's
in a 9.8. That beat out the Hulk 181.
Well, Hulk 181 is bigger key, obviously. But if you want something more rare, get like a 9.2 or 9.4 House of Secrets 92.
Yeah.
Man, you'll have one of the best copies most people will ever come across. Where if you have a 9.4 Hulk 181, I don't want to say like, yeah, big deal. I mean, that is a big deal, but there are a lot of them. You know what I mean? I never see a 9.8 of House of Secrets 92. I see a Hulk 181 9.8. You know, fairly enough. It comes up.
All right. Well, I think that pretty much does us in for the Bronze Age talk. Now, for those of you that don't know, later on this month, we will do my second episode of the What's the Title series, unless I figure out a name for it. And we're actually going to be talking about God of all things. And I'm going to do it sort of like a mini debate. We got 2 people pro and 2 people against. I just need to find my second against person.
Wait a second. Wait. I got a question. The topic is God.
Yeah.
And you got people pro and against?
Yeah. I'm gonna have them debate.
So okay, wait. I'm sorry. So you got believers and non-believers?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's an interesting topic. Sure.
That's ballsy. I like it.
I don't believe in God, but I'm spiritual, so
I just need one more person that's on the nay side.
I can argue a
I'm
nay.
having trouble finding.
I'll put me on the backup list in case you don't find one. I'll do the nay.
Okay.
Because I'm spiritual, but I'm not religious. And people ask me if I believe in God, and I feel like the most accurate answer is no. But I am spiritual, and I believe in life after death, and I believe in energies in the universe that are beyond our perception that do affect things. You know what I mean? But I feel like the easy answer that gives the people the right ideas is if they ask me, and I just say, no, I don't believe in God.
All right, so basically you're one of them weird ones. Okay.
One of the weird
Hey, wait. Before we end, I'm not going to
You already knew I was one of the weird ones.
I'm not going to get into specifics, but I'll just say I'm probably weirder than DS.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would be impressed. That would be awesome. Yeah, nice.
All right. Well, I have one more thing to say before I let you guys mention anything you're doing on your channel, and that is I still have the El Cheapo box.
Nice.
I have sold 5 of these, so I have more. The El Cheapo box is $70 bin comics. They're unbagged. They're not boarded. May include multiples. They're really kind of just crappy pieces of crap. But I'll give you 70 of them for $25 shipped if you're interested. And on that note, what's going on your channel next?
Man, I don't got too much on my channel this week. I actually, next Monday, I got the Johnson Show where we actually talk sports. Next Wednesday, 9 o'clock on my channel, we will do Behind the Comics. And we are going to have just a little podcast on as our next, me and Javi are going to have Cookie on for our next guest. And we'll get to know everything we can about Cookie. And that's about it. I might do a video here and there, but I've been lazy.
All right. DS?
I mean, I don't have anything coming up on my channel. Just when the mood strikes me, I'll just go live and just talk about whatever. But I do have a pretty good box of CGC, but it's non-fast tracked value. When that gets back, I'll do an unboxing of that.
So you'll be looking for that next year?
Yeah. I probably got another month and a half on it, honestly. It's been there a while. But yeah, other than that, I don't have anything coming up. I'm on the No Faces chat every Monday on Bub's Comics, and I'm on Golden Guys every Tuesday night on Comic Core. Those I do every week, but on my channel, there's not a whole lot. But Bronze, let me give one recommendation for everybody on Bronze Age. Strange Tales 169, First Brother Voodoo is going to be in the Doctor Strange movie. If you can find an 8.0 or an 8.5 of that, it is definitely worth picking up and holding on to. That's my Bronze recommendation. Nice. Yeah, you got one. I saw it back there on the wall while we were talking. Yeah.
Yeah. So I said, well, let me get it.
Yeah, and I'm an idiot because I had a 9.4 white page.
Yeah, I had a big one.
All right. Well, with that, thank everybody for watching and joining us today. And anyone watching on the rewind, that's the only thing we ever know to call it, but you don't actually rewind anything. But anyway, for those of you watching later, thanks for coming. Thank you, Highland. Thank you, DS. Hope to work with you guys again, and we will see you guys